Hello, welcome to Steven Speak. This week on Steven Speak, I'm going to revisit an episode from Series 1, Series 1, Episode 15, which is Music and Me. That was kind of like a part 1, really, because I wasn't really finished in half an hour because I ramble and prattle on about everything. So, if you will permit me, I'm going to do a part 2, and then maybe a part 3, because you know what I'm like. So, yeah, let's have a chat about that. Welcome to Steven Speak the podcast. Unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Welcome to, I think it's episode 8 today, on this glorious, we're getting towards the end of January now. It's flying, the 22nd of January. I'm actually recording this on the day that it gets released, for once. Well, not for once, I do it quite regularly. But I sometimes record them a few days before and then reference the day that I'm recording on it. It makes no sense probably when you listen to it, but yeah, in production. And I forget that I'm not doing it on the day it's released, because I'm a bit stupid sometimes. Anyway, Music and Me, the first episode, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it, because this may not make any sense. So yeah, episode 15 of Series 1. Yeah, so in that episode, I basically said that, I've got a massive love for music and explained really the lessons I had on the organ by my music teacher, Eric, which is like a private tuition. And I kind of got up to the point where I said that I'd got to the point in my life now that he'd probably be really pissed off at me because I've not really utilised the skills that he gave me and that I possessed. Because I was pretty shit hot on the organ, I must admit. No pun there. And yeah, I think I'm disappointed in myself as well that I'm not as good as I used to be. There's an underlying kind of talent and skill somewhere there, and but I must admit it takes a lot of practice to kind of even claw back an iota of where I used to be back in the day. And the same can be said for guitar and bass and drums and stuff. Because when I lived alone, I used to because I lived alone, I was, I didn't have to please anyone else. I didn't feel guilty. And we've talked about quite a lot through these podcasts how I have like a guilt issue and I self-sabotage, and I've probably got some. Turns out I've got a load of fucking issues, to be honest. Who knew? I think I did know somewhere. But yeah, I self-sabotage a lot, and if someone's around, I feel the need to be near them and sabotage what I like to do, which is ridiculous, really, because you need to do what you like and you need to pursue stuff. So when I lived alone, I could do that and please myself. So I used to sit and watch TV and just strum the guitar and just practice chords and stuff like that, and do that quite a lot. And please myself, and do a bit of singing and write a lot of songs. I've not written a song in a long time. Not written a new song in years and years and years. And that makes me sad. Because I do write my own songs. I've never finished any of them. I think I mentioned that in the last episode that I've probably written. I couldn't even tell you. I would guesstimate probably like 50 songs, and I've never finished them. May have written lyrics and stuff, but never actually 100% finished the music, or never 100% finished the lyrics, or never actually properly. If I've recorded them onto my digital recorder, never properly done it properly. So it's always been rough cuts or rough rehearsals and stuff like that. So I make like a New Year's resolution, or partway through the year make a resolution that by this time next year I'll have recorded a couple, and I just never do. And it's this procrastination and in the last couple of years realizing that I might have issues in my brain that makes me the way I am, and that's fine, isn't it? It's fine. I just need to work this out now. I know I need to figure out how I can. Excuse me, just my microphone because it keeps twisting. It's annoying me. So excuse that sound then. Yeah, I just need to work that out in my own brain, I think, and just actually timetable myself and try not to feel too guilty about it. And yeah. But anyway, so last time I finished on the fact that my music teacher Eric would probably be pissed off at me, and I know he would be. As I say, I'm a bit frustrated myself by it all. But, I've got this new outlet of podcasting. I think that's really helped me. It's kind of getting me into that creative zone again. And I have been, in the last few weeks, been picking up a guitar just randomly like I used to. I'm even contemplating on keeping one downstairs if Sarah says it's okay, just on a stand, so I can just grab it and have a strum. If she's making tea or I'm in the kitchen waiting for something to boil, I can just pick it up and have a strum. And hopefully that'll get me back into the habit. Because sometimes my bedroom's so messy, I can't get into anything, and that screws my brain up because things are such in disarray that I can't. I like a clear space, and if it's not clear, then I can't get into that headspace. Yeah, I'm a bit messed up. Oh well. Would you have me any other way? But yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing for me. But yeah, I'm a bit pissed off, and I need to do more stuff like that, and I need to actually go back to the songs I've written. I've got them all piled up actually on my desk because I wrote them all out, all like rough writing, all like handwritten stuff and stuff that's half typed, and I've got audio recordings on my computer from old hard drives that I've been digging out. And I am going to try and organise that. The first thing is like to try and organise it and get it into some sort of order. I'm going to put the audio recordings with them notes. And try and get that into some order, because at least then there's a starting point there. I go, right, that audio recording is to do with that song, them lyrics, right, let's kind of finish that off, and at least get it into some sort of thing where I can remember it and maybe go busking. That's something I'd like to do, go busking. There's no order to this at the moment. I'm going to try and reel myself back in again, take a deep breath, and do a timeline. Okay, so, finish the last one talking about Eric. Unfortunately, Eric passed away quite a while ago now. And I went to his funeral, and it was really lovely because his sons and daughters. I think he had 2 daughters and a son. Forgive me, Eric, for forgetting. But I remember at the funeral, his children came over to me, who were obviously a lot older than me because he was obviously a lot older. So they were like in their 40s and 50s, and maybe 40s. Just he wasn't ancient when he died. Well, they could have been in the 50s, to be fair. Yeah, they could have been. Yep, they could have been. He was like 80-something, 85, I think, when he died. I think, again, forgive me, Eric, for not remembering. He's going to be well pissed with me. But it was so lovely because they knew me, because they said he always spoke so fondly of me. And that meant so much, because it also upset me, because I thought, he's going to be well pissed off then, isn't he? If he did hold me in such esteem and pride that I've fucked around, not done anything with the talent that I had. Or maybe still possess, I don't know. But yeah, it was really nice. It was obviously really upsetting going to his funeral and and knowing he wasn't here anymore, and kind of losing that. I think it made me realise that I'd lost touch with people as well. And I think we all have, like, especially with COVID and stuff. And I think that's something we're all struggling with, and I'm struggling with that, and Sarah's struggling with that. Like trying to keep hold of, trying to keep contact with people, and being comfortable with ourselves, especially when I lived alone. It kind of made me like that, and I'm a super social person, but I also am okay with being on my own and can block people out. But then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my god, I need human contact, and I'm crazed about it. But yeah, it was really lovely that his daughter actually came over and spoke to me first, and she was just like, Pauline, his wife, had pointed her out to me, and she'd come over and she said, oh, I heard so much about you, I'd never met you, and it's so nice that you've come. And it was just so lovely. And he holds a special place in my heart. Eric does. He was a fair but tough teacher, as I've said in the previous episode. But along with him being like a role model, I had a couple of teachers at school through my senior school. One of them was called Mr. Walsh. I'm sure it was Mr. Walsh and not Mr. Welsh. I can't remember, which is terrible. I feel like it was Mr. Walsh. And he really kind of took me under his wing. He actually wanted me to do my GCSE music early. He said that, because of obviously my music lessons and stuff like that, he said you could at least pass it, he said. And then that would be one GCSE you didn't need to do, and a subject you could choose then to do another subject. But unfortunately, my school were a bit shitty about it and wouldn't let me do it, which is a bit shit, really, because I think nowadays they'd probably encourage that sort of behaviour. And he was pretty sure I'd get a C, no problem. Like, it passed, no problem. And he said then, because the way they did things at school, like music was in the bunch with music. I think it was in with design and drama and art and stuff like that. And I wanted to take drama. I wanted to take music, but then it meant I couldn't take another lesson. It meant I couldn't take German, and I really wanted to take German. because weirdly that was in the same category. So it was like an additional language. And he was an amazing teacher. He really helped me develop and encouraged me, and we'd have like little sessions after school, like he'd play the piano and I'd sing, and we'd play musical instruments together, and he was trying to get me into other instruments, like anything. He was like saying, right, and he was probably the first one that showed me that my knowledge of music that Eric had taught me was transferable to other instruments. Like, he was like, you know how to play a chord on the piano, it's the same on a guitar. Like, the guitar's in the same key as a piano. You don't have to downtune or anything. So if you can use your musical knowledge to transfer the notes that you see onto a guitar. All you need to know is what the notes on the guitar are. And he really expanded my brain that way, and he was so open-minded and so encouraging. It was so nice. And but he left in year 9, so we had 2 years of music with him, and then he left. So our GCSE, was it year 10 he left? He might have been left for the last 2 years, actually. So we chose our subjects for the last 2 years in year 9, and then he announced he was leaving. So I presume he went to another school and got a better job and maybe head of a department or something like that. I do think back to him and wonder what he was doing, if he's even still alive. That's a bit grim of a thought, but it's a while ago now. Like, I'm 40 this year, which is insane. Like, I'll probably do a separate episode about my 40th birthday, but it's weird to think that when you're a kid and you think, oh my god, 40, it's so far away, and it seems like so far away now. It's like, seems that when I was a kid, it's a long way away, but it also doesn't at the same time. I do think back to wonder what he's doing and what, if he'd remember me even. That'd be nice. People do say that I'm kind of unforgettable, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe it's because I make good impressions, or maybe it's because I say outrageous things, or I don't know. I get that quite a lot, though, that people say they can't forget me once they meet me. I don't know if that's good. And yeah, we had another teacher that came in. There was a slight overlap, and his name's completely gone out of my head. Oh my god, I was just thinking what it was. It's gone. Mr. Walker. And Mr. Walker, I hated from day one because he wasn't Mr. Welsh. Mr. Welsh. It might have been Mr. Welsh. Anyway, I hated him because didn't want Mr. Welsh to go, the previous teacher to go. So Mr. Walker straight to me was like, well, he's a duff replacement. No, he'll never be as good. Didn't really want to give him a chance whatsoever. I hated everything about him, if I'm honest. I was really, really, really shitty about it, and never really been horrible to a teacher, but I just wouldn't do anything for him. And he was in some of the lessons. They had like a transition, and then he took over for year 10. And yeah, I just didn't want. He was quite straight laced. Whereas I think because he was a bit younger, he was trying to like be more authoritative. So he would be a little bit more strict than the previous teacher would be. Whereas the previous teacher, when he'd lose it, he'd properly lose it, but he was calm up to that point. Where Mr. Walker was a little bit strict from the first moment, really. And I didn't like that, and I suppose I didn't like because he was young and a bit good looking as well. I think I was a bit intimidated by that, and I was just like, no, everything about you, I hate. But it turns out he was an amazing teacher. He was an amazing person, and there was a turnaround. And I don't know how. I couldn't even remember I couldn't even tell you how long this took. It could have been days. I have a feeling it was like weeks, or like maybe a couple of months, or maybe a few months. But I hated music. I really hated music for the first however long it was, until we had this like epiphany moment. And I'd stayed behind. I was composing some songs for GCSEs and doing a bit of practice with the band because I had musical talents. They wanted me for all like I had to play music for the choir. Kind of, when I say had to, they basically were like, you actually can play an instrument. You should be doing all this stuff. So I would stay behind and practice with the folk band, with the choir, and there was a couple of lads that had a band as well. So sometimes I'd sing with them. And one evening it was just me and him that were left, I think. I was tidying up, and then he said, "Oh, just come in my office and just review this." They had like a software program. I think it was like Cubase, like a really early version of Cubase on his school computer. And we were composing songs, and he said, "Oh, just I've seen this thing you've composed, and I just want to go through it with you." And he was giving me loads of praise, basically saying how great it was, and it was like a Celtic melody. We had to like write songs in a style. So one of them we had to write a song in a Celtic style using the pentatonic scale. Ooh, something like that. Pretty sure it's the pentatonic scale. Because when you use certain scales and stuff, it instantly makes it sound like a certain style of music. And I'm pretty sure it's the pentatonic scale that makes it sound Celtic or like Scottish or Irish, And I noticed like he hadn't put much stuff in his office, and he was slowly putting stuff in there. And I'd noticed this clock he'd had on his desk, and it was some sort of like mosque, and he used to like do the early morning prayer as the alarm. And because he'd been there on holiday, I think it was, or had a girlfriend there. There was a story behind it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think that was the first thing I was like, actually, this guy's interesting. He's not just he came across a bit plain. He came across very like, I'm the teacher, you're the student. There's nothing about me other than being a teacher. And I never really given him a chance to speak to him about his personal life or anything like that. And I know teachers and students must have like a sort of like professional relationship. Like they don't want to get too friendly with the students, etc. I mean, it was a different time, but when I was at school, teachers were still kind of allowed to hug you and high five you and like hang out with you a little bit. I don't think that's really the case now, unfortunately, with the idiots that have caused problems in the world. That's another subject. But yeah, I was in his office, and I just noticed on his shelf, like I was looking around his office, and it was obviously personalised now. It was like there was like glimpses of his personality, and he had some stuff on the wall and some posters, and I started getting really into Jamiroquai, and I loved Elton John, because obviously he played the piano and sung, and I was like, oh my god, like Elton John's amazing. I noticed that he had some music books, and amongst them was like Jamiroquai, and like the guy could play the piano, by the way. He was a really good pianist. I think that's why I hate him as well, because he was really good. And yeah, he had a Jamiroquai book, and he had some rock books as well, and he had Elton John. And I was like, oh my god, you got like a Jamiroquai book? And he was like, oh yeah. He says, I like Jamiroquai. And I was like, oh, so do I. And that was it. That was the turning point, He got the Jamiroquai book, and I flipped through. And I was like, oh, it's quite difficult, really. I said I probably could play it, and I said, I've been looking for some music, for Jamiroquai, and he was like, well, you can borrow it if you want. I was like, oh no, I don't want to borrow it, and he says, well, let's go and play it. So he played the music, and I sang. And we were just in the music room, like, just jamming, really. We were playing Virtual Insanity and Canned Heat, and I was singing, and then he got an Elton John book out, and it turned out that the Elton John book was... it was the same one I had at home that I wasn't allowed to play as well, because Eric wouldn't let me play certain things, as I've said. And I ended up singing one of the songs. I'm pretty sure it's from the Big Picture album. Something About the Way You Look Tonight. I'm sure that's the one on that album. And he had that music book as well, and he played that song. It goes dun 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 dun, and I sang that as a piece for my GCSE music and got an A star for it. So our collaboration helped me pass music with flying colours, so to speak. And he was just such a nice guy. So I think that's a lesson there, is just don't judge people. I'm pretty much I really don't think I'm judgmental, even when someone really slates someone about something, or I kind of like to make my own judgments about people. And this is one of the times, like, obviously I was like a 14-year-old kid, hormonal and disillusioned with the world, and annoyed that my favourite teacher was leaving. But yeah, he turned out to be a thoroughly nice guy, and that completely broke the ice for us. And he actually said to me, weirdly enough, he actually did say to me, he's like, why do you hate me? And I was like, I don't hate you. I said, it kind of made me realise when he said that, and I was like, I don't hate you. I said, it's just that, he left, he was my favourite teacher, like, music was the thing, music and drama were two of my favourite lessons, and it's where I hung out at lunchtime and stuff. I hung out in the music area when I could, and music was a massive part of my life in that time. It was, I've said before, like, I wasn't good with girls. I'm still not good with girls. I don't need to be good with girls anymore. I'm married. But I looked like, at 14, I looked like an 8-year-old. Like, I was nowhere near going through puberty. And the one thing I had going for me was my intellect and my musical ability. And I threw everything into that, And when a teacher that you love says they're leaving, it's a massive blow, like, especially for your favourite lesson, and this guy turns up, and you don't know him, and he comes across as a bit of an arsehole. And I said that to him. I said, you seemed a bit of an arse, and you seem so rigid. And he says, well, it's my first teaching job. He says, I'm scared. And it was such a moment between us. Like, it was quite touching, really. I think it was quite a moment for him as well. And I said, you know what? I said, because some of the other kids in our class didn't like him as well. And I just told them all, I said, listen, let's give him a chance, we had an ace time last night. We were, like, jamming and stuff. And it, I must admit, it relaxed him. He came out of his shell a bit, and I don't know, we kind of got like a kind of a bond going, like, because I was obviously pissed off the teacher had left, and he was obviously super nervous about being a teacher, and so I feel like he helped me discover some stuff, and I hope that I taught him to chill out a bit as a teacher. But again, wherever he is in the world, I hope he's doing well, and I hope he's hope he's still with us, to be honest. It's like Mr. Walsh, I think, or Mr. Welsh. It's really annoying me that I can't remember if it's Walsh or Welsh. I just hope he's doing well, and I wonder if I always feel like, when you recall things like this, like the brain is a really weird thing. Like, obviously, if you've been a witness for something, like the police, like your brain does recall things completely different. Hence the reason they take witness statements as soon as they can, because your brain just misses major parts of it out and just infills the middle bit with random shit. So I've just retold that. I wonder if he recalls that moment between us, because for me it was like a big thing. It was a big thing, and I felt it was a big thing for him. But I wonder if he thinks the same. So when I left school, I got a B in music. I think, a B, because the written exam was posh and I didn't want to do it. What you write about music? Like, for me, music's a very practical thing. Like, I don't really want to know the history of music. Like, it does help to a degree. Like, where did this come from? Where did this sort of style evolve from? But for me, someone can tell me that and say, right now, play it. Learn the nature of that music. Where we had to do like a written exam and pick out instruments in music and stuff like that. Which, again, I suppose is helpful if you're a producer and stuff like that. But, like, I just lost interest. I think it was partly because I knew I'd like aced all the practical stuff. They pretty much came back and said, like, it looks like he's got an A star for all of that. Which probably means I did really shit in the actual written exam, because I honestly just wrote anything. Like, obviously, it wasn't, like, not trying, but if I didn't know, I was just like, I'll just write anything. And I wasn't really concentrating. What really threw me off, like, there was this, like, listening bit part of the exam, and they were like playing like Simply Red songs and stuff, and it just threw me out. And I ended up listening again. It's probably like the concentration thing. I ended up like listening to the song and going, "Oh, yeah, it's not a bad song." Because they were playing Simply Red and other stuff. And then it would say like, "Oh, listen again and try and pick out the beat, or try and pick out." It wasn't stuff like, "Can you tell what key it was in?" But it was like stuff like, "Can you say what instrument was making this sound, and what is the tempo? What is the time signature and stuff like that?" And I have no interest in that. I've got interest in give me the music and let me play it. Like, do you know what I mean? I can sight read music, and that sounds like really big headed of me, but I just had no interest in the learning about the Baroque era and when the Baroque era was. Tell me how to play songs in the style of the Baroque era, and I will. I don't care about knowing what date it was or who wrote what the names of the most popular songs were back then. I could go on the internet and find that out. As you can tell, I really hated the written part of the music exam. But I left school with a B in music, and didn't take it any further than that education-wise. Like, my mum, I think, was really thinking I should go to college and do music. But when I looked at the music course, it was a lot of theory about music, and I was like, I don't want to learn about music. I want to play music. I want to stand all day and jam. Do you know what I mean? That is what I want to do. And I think if the music course had been that, or I'd indeed got into a band, I think things in my life would maybe be completely different, because I think it would have given me that boost. I was very much into drama and musical, musical theatre. and I think my life could have been completely different because I can be quite shy and quite, um, as I've said, I can be quite like a solo person, um, like an introvert. But you give me a microphone and put me on stage and say entertain someone, I will. It's no problem to me. I will do my best to be the most entertainment motherfucker I can. It's really really polarizing, odd balance there, but that's just me. And I've said that before. Like I'm always the first person up on the dance floor at the party. Generally, or if someone asks me to be, then I will be like, I will do it for you. I don't want you to feel let down, and I want everyone to have a good time. So yeah, it's a strange thing, but I think if I'd have been introduced to music or kept on the music at that point, I would have done. And I not long after leaving school, I ended the music lessons with Eric, because I got a summer job. And I just didn't have time to do my music and then go to college, and I really needed to focus on the college work. So I think I continued them on for a couple of months, maybe 6 months after finishing college. So I think I was doing it while working. And then when I was coming up to starting college, I think that's when we severed them, maybe at the beginning of college. I think at that point, I think I'd been having lessons for about 7 years, maybe 6, 7 years. Would it have been? Yeah, I think that's pretty right. Maybe 8 years. So a long time to spend every Saturday between 10 and 11. And I don't know if I said in the last episode, actually, that Eric at first was only meant to be giving me like a 20 to 30 minute lesson for a tenner. And he ended up giving me an hour lesson for a fiver, and that's how he kept it, because he said it was such a nice experience, and he could see I had talent. Yeah. He said some nice things about me, and I genuinely feel like I've let him down. And my school teachers, really. But your life just changes, as a kid. Sometimes you need that encouragement to keep going, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you already have it in you, and I think I probably needed that bit of a push. I'm not very confident sometimes. Like, I appear to be confident, but I'm not. And I think someone needed to say, "You're ace at music. Go and pursue it," and kick me up the arse and be my confidence for me for a little bit. But as I say, if music at the college level had been, let's sit in a room and jam all day and just record stuff and then submit that as an exam, then I'd have been there, and I'd have probably been in a band and probably been pursuing some sort of fame and fortune through it. But it's weird how life changes and takes you in different directions. But I ended up teaching myself guitar while I was at college, because chicks dig guitar, and you can't really take an organ to a house party with you. So I thought I'll buy myself an electric guitar and teach myself guitar. So I did that. So my music teacher and Eric were right. It's a transferable skill, like learning the fundamentals of music. And then when I moved out and went on my own, bought my own house, I ended up like getting more equipment and an 8-track recorder. But as I've said, I've never done anything more than just jamming, really, and laying some tracks down, and never really finishing any of my own songs, which is a sin, really. I think is a sin, and I really chastise myself for it, but not enough to actually do anything about it, apparently. But I did have a professional track recorded, and maybe I'll do an extra speak where I replay that and narrate over it, because it is my song. When I was about 15 or 16, I one of the things I submitted for my GCSE music was you had to write your own song. So this Celtic melody was submitted, and me singing something about the way you look tonight. But I also wrote a song. It was my first song I ever wrote, and it was called "Don't Say a Word," and in brackets, "Because you might just break my heart." I was taking some tips from Meatloaf's song titles, and my mum actually paid a professional studio to record it for me. It was like nearby, and it was just some guy's shed basically, but he recorded it and put it on a mini disc for me. So I'll have to try and find my old mini disc player up and see if I can copy it across to my computer and do an extra speak on it. But that's a bit of my musical journey. Maybe I'll go through some other stuff about being on stage and some of the small gigs I've done in my time. But if anyone needs a singer for a band, I'm there. I'm there. I think it's that thing about being asked. I don't pursue, but if I was asked, I would do. That kind of rhymed. Ooh. Anyway, that's the half an hour up. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about my musical life and my lack of confidence, my inability to finish anything I do. Really, is a common theme through all of these things. So, thanks for listening. Let me know in the comments on social media, etc. What your experience with music is. Do you play an instrument? Should you be doing more with it? Would you like to be in a band or go out and sing a bit more? Let me know. And until then, I shall speak to you soon. Take care. You've been listening to Stephen Speak the podcast. Thanks for listening to my unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Visit stephenspeak.com for updates, information, and my blog. You can follow more updates on social media at StephenSpeakPC. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.